Hi, I'm Arden Kaywin, and this is the Pro Singer Success Collective. Today, we are doing some singer success stories. We're talking to Annie Fitch, who's having a big moment in her career, and I can't wait to share it with you.
Hey, Arden!
Hey, Annie, I'm so happy that you are here. So, guys, this is Annie Fitch. She's an amazing musical theater singer, actress. Just jazz. She's jazz. She's musical theater. She does classical. And I'm excited to talk with her today because I know a lot of you guys struggle with going from feeling like you got nothing going on at the level that you want to how the heck am I going to go from there to where I am thriving and having a moment in my career that I've been waiting for. So I always think it's really helpful to talk to singers who have done that to find out like what were the big distinctions for them, where they were, where they are now, and how they got there. So welcome, Annie.
Thank you
And
so much.
yeah, so let's just start the conversation by talking about what it was like a couple of years ago for you, where you were at in your career, what it felt like. Yeah, let's start there.
Well, it wasn't good.
Whoops, I'm getting my
I that's okay. So I was in a place where I really didn't know what what I was doing and why I was doing it. I had had some successes early in my career, some big shows in New York, and that was wonderful. And then it all sort of dried up and life got in the way and circumstances changed, and then I found myself in a place where I wasn't studying, I wasn't working. I knew what I wanted, to be doing the thing, having a career, singing, teaching, all the wonderful stuff.
Mhm.
But I was really stuck in this horrible place of like, well, you don't have it. How are you going to get it? You must be awful because you don't have it, but you don't know how to take any actions. And I was just really beating myself up for not being the person that I already wanted to be, but also not taking steps to get there.
Yes, and I hope you guys are listening to this. Any of you relate, like beating yourself up for like everything about what's not going right, what you should be doing, what's not happening. This is the struggle of a lot of talented artists. And
And when
so
you're stuck in that loop, it's just like it's so hard to find that like parachute or that little piece that's going to help you, the ladder that's going to help you find your way out of the hole.
yeah. And what would you say were the biggest things you were struggling with at the time?
Well, I was struggling with direction. Like, what actions am I going to take to get what I want? I was struggling with my self talk because my self talk was not good. It was all you're little, you're small, it felt like just an intense amount of pressure
Mhm.
because I wasn't who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
um, and I felt that I was confident in my instrument and how I used it, but I knew that I could be a lot better than I was.
Mhm. And that might be the missing piece to get you to those higher level gigs, to get you on the bigger stages. And
Right.
okay, so fast forward to this moment now, and we'll talk about how you got there in a minute. So, what celebrate with us what's happening in your career right
Yeah, it's really I would have never have guessed what's going on, but I'm so happy. So next week, actually, in a few days, I'm flying out to New York to compete in the finals of a competition called the Music International Grand Prix, which is at Lincoln Center. And so I'm gonna get to sing at Lincoln Center and go up against all these wonderful, amazing musicians and show my stuff. And
now.
and
We have to celebrate that a little bit more in a second. When when I want everybody to know how many singers she was up against to get into the finals. So there's only 4 categories, and there's hundreds of singers in each category, in those 4 categories, and they pick one who wins that category. And so Annie won the category for musical theater and contemporary song. So she gets to go perform at Lincoln Center with the other 3 winners of their particular categories. There's classical and singer. And then, so she's already won in that sense. And that, and as far as I'm concerned, that's the hardest part. Like, you won, you get to perform at Lincoln Center, and then it's just a matter of you and those other 3 people, whoever they choose for the grand prize. But as far as I'm concerned, the hard part is done.
Right. Yeah. I was floored when I was like, oh, I scored the highest of anyone in America. What? In my category.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I couldn't have done it without your help.
Well, thank you. But also, how was that for you in terms of going into that audition experience and how you felt in your sound, in your confidence versus how it used to feel?
Mm. Well, I think a lot of it, the key is one of the things that I really learned working with you and going through your program is how to how to do preparation, right? Because preparation isn't like one giant thing of work and then you're ready for the event. And working with you, I learned that, preparation is just like a little bit every day. And you're in the habit and you do it and it's no big deal and you just keep doing it and you keep putting one foot in front of the other and then eventually you've built something that's beautiful and wonderful. And the way I used to be, I would be thinking about the actual event and freaking out about the actual event and not actually doing the work to be good at the actual event.
Okay, so guys, I really want you to hear this, okay? Because I think so many of you fall into this trap too, which is like there's a lot of stuff going on up here, but not a lot of it is actually translating into what happens on the daily. Because, I've said this to you before, I say this to all my students, I'm going to say this to you guys, which is that the game is not won on the field. It's not. What she's talking about is that idea that the game is not won on the field. The game is won on all the little things that that team did day to day that built those skills, that built that muscle, so that when they get into the game, it's just not a thing. Like, I remember, Annie, you finishing that audition and you coming out, we were all on retreat together at that point, and you were like, we were all like, how'd it go? And you're like, just
Good, I think.
it wasn't a thing. You had been doing it that way all along because you spent that time and built that muscle with all of your tools and your mindset and your technique, so that when it came to the thing, and the same thing goes for this weekend. So how are you feeling about this weekend?
I think I'm exactly where I need to be. I've been doing the outer work, prepping, working with my accompanist, just drilling and working on any spots that I feel need just a little extra attention before it's ready to go. And the inner work too. The work of, getting my mindset right so that when I'm in that circumstance and in that situation, I'm not freaking out. I'm just here ready to be myself and have a wonderful time. And, as long as I have fun, then I won, no matter what happens.
Yes. Awesome. So I'm excited for you. Especially,
Thank you.
Lincoln Center is a big deal. Not a whole lot of performers get to be there. And so this is a moment that you so deserve, that you have been in the footwork this whole time. So it's very exciting. I have a personal belief about how I think the outcome is going to go, but we're not attaching to that outcome.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about that too. And I'm like, you know what? If somebody beats me, hats off to you. Because I'm not making it easy.
Yes. See, you guys, you hear this unshakable belief, this unshakable certainty. She's just so in and owning who she is and what she has to offer. And that is going to make it for a great performance. So, yay. Okay. So let's talk about the other exciting things that are going on.
Yes. So after Lincoln Center, then a few weeks later, I am going to be rehearsing the Into the Woods, and I'm going to be playing the witch in Into the Woods this summer with Pacific Opera Project in LA, making my LA debut.
Yes, ma'am. And
Yes.
this is another, so those of you in the opera world, there's only two opera companies in Los Angeles that really mean anything: LA Opera and Pacific Opera Project. And LA Opera does kind of the stodgy warhorse stuff. They're doing Traviata, and Pacific Opera Project does all the fun, interesting stuff. It's kind of the difference between back in the day, the Met and like City Opera in New York. And so Annie, who is not a who doesn't identify, I should say, you are an opera singer, you have that range. I'm just claiming that for you. But whose identity is more as a musical theater performer. Decides I can do this. I'm gonna put my hat in the ring for this project. First audition you had been on in how long?
I think I maybe sent one other like submission in the course of like 3, 4 years.
Uh-huh. Hmm. And so
Yep.
tell us about what happened, what that process was like, and how it went for you.
It was really interesting. And of course, we're still in this COVID world. So it was just a film audition that I did in my kitchen. And, I prepared for this audition and, spent a few hours getting the sides ready and then spent some time filming. And while I was filming, just really tried to focus on having fun with it, which is not something that I would have done in the past. So I just focused on having fun with it and being my weird self. And I made something that I felt proud of and sent it in and didn't hear anything. I had heard via email that there would be callbacks, but didn't didn't hear anything, didn't hear anything, didn't hear anything. And then I found out I got it.
Guys, without a callback, okay? She was that good. There was so much of an impact made in that first audition that they didn't even need to give her a callback. They knew. Okay, so this is the kind of impact we're talking about. But what I really want to highlight here is I want you to pay attention to Annie's energy around the work that she's doing. I want you to pay attention to Annie's energy and her beliefs around what she's here to do, which is this is the first audition she's been on in a long time. And I know a lot of you in this COVID world, it could be very easy to feel an immense amount of pressure behind that because there aren't as many yet. I mean, yes, things are auditioning, but not quite as many. And to feel the pressure and to feel like I've got to nail this because this is only one audition and I don't have that many. And, this is not the energy that Annie has learned that serves her. And so I want you to pay attention to the words that she said. I get to be my weird self. She has learned how to be vulnerable and let her flag fly, how to show up in true openness and let herself and all of her interesting, unique things about her be seen rather than feeling like she needs to show up and show them something that she thinks they need to see in order to get cast or show what she thinks they need, how she thinks she needs to sound or how she thinks she needs to act or look or whatever in order to be successful, in order to get cast. That's not how she was showing up. I really want you to pay attention to the words that she's used. Now, this is not how it used to be. She has learned this. So tell us what the difference was for you in this experience.
I think that in the past, I used to put so much pressure on myself to get the job. And this goes back to, putting so much pressure on myself that I wasn't able to actually execute the preparation. So when I actually would finally get into an audition room, you know, all this feeling of pressure, I would just kind of explode like a volcano. And I saw a lot of like, thank you.
You guys know that look, right? Where you're in an audition and you do your thing and they're like, "Thank you." Yeah, no, it's just like,
It's not gonna happen. So, I used to be that way, and I approached this one very differently in terms of my preparation and in terms of deciding to not be so attached to, what happens after, and just making the most of the moment that I do get to be the witch, which is the audition. In life, you're not guaranteed results. You're guaranteed like just the opportunity, like hunting, right? When you go hunting, like you're there, you're doing the thing, and maybe it happens and maybe it doesn't. And when you stop putting your mind in the future and being somewhere else, then you're actually exactly where you are.
yeah. So what I want you guys to get from this, right, is it's it's all very well and good to intellectually understand. And I think, Annie, you probably always understood that it's better to be in the moment when you perform, that you don't want to be putting so much pressure on yourself. But there were blocks, patterns, things that were getting in the way of you actually doing that instead of sabotaging that. And, I said a minute ago, like, this was the first audition that she had been on in 3 years. And so I want to know, what are the biggest distinctions for you that you feel, the ways that you have transformed, the way have you have shifted? What were the biggest things that changed between then, 3 years ago, and now that allowed you to do that?
Oh my goodness. Well, there's been, with your program and with your process, there's been a lot of inner work, a lot of inner work, as well as, of course, working on my instrument. Um, and the letting go of all the junk and the crud and the monkey mind cleared a lot out of the way. Like you said, the sabotaging out of the way so that I could actually shine in what I was doing. Another piece that really came through for me is that I realized that it takes a village.
Uh-huh.
And, if I have an area that I feel is a weakness, I need to stop avoiding it and I need to work my weaknesses. And if I need to find people to help me do that, it doesn't mean that I'm not good.
Yeah, right. Right. Because if you're making that mean something, then how does that affect your ability to actually shift that? It
Right.
completely sabotages it, to go back to that word, right? Um, and so the biggest thing that I'm hearing you say is that at a certain point you started to understand that you didn't know what you didn't know, and that there was nothing wrong with you, there was nothing wrong with your talent. It's just that your foundation needed work. And the foundation for you guys watching, it's three things: it's technique, it's artistry, and it's mindset. And those three parts of the foundation, they have to be equally as strong without one sabotaging the other. Because without that foundation, it's impossible to show up to the potential that is there. And so, what you're hearing Annie talk about is that for her, the mindset was the thing that was sabotaging her from being able to show up with the full force and the full light and the full impact of her artistry and her technique. For others of you, it might be your technique. If there are gaps in the technical learning that are making you feel insecure, now the gap in the technique is affecting the mindset, which is affecting the artistry, which means that impact not there. So all together, it's not like you have to you need one or two. They all have to be working equally as strong. And when they are, you get to have that experience like Annie, where she had an audition for 3 years. She came in, she did the work, she shored up her foundation. And then the first two auditions, literally the first two auditions that she went on, once she had the foundation, it was like one after the next, bam, bam. Success, success. And it's going to keep happening because now she has that foundation she can rely on. And so I'm curious, Annie, um, now that you're in this moment and you're on the other side of the struggle, what are the biggest pieces of advice that you would give to somebody who is where you were a couple of years ago, just in terms of
Wow.
your journey?
Well, what I would say is that it's not going to change unless you decide to do something different. And deciding to do something different, in my case, it took action. Excuse me, I got a little friend here. So deciding to do something different in my case meant getting out of my comfort zone and getting out of my safe little bubble.
So what did that look like for you? What was deciding to do something different? So what was the first thing? What was the first decision for you?
Well, I started looking around. Of course, your little ad popped up. and, and I actually listened to you. I think you have a talk where you talk for about like 45 minutes about what's going on with singers and why we get in our way and how we don't help ourselves. And I listened to this talk and I was like, this lady knows what she's talking about. She really, really gets me. You didn't know me, but you already knew me. And so, we had a conversation and I decided to work with you. I really wasn't sure what I was going to get out of it, but you had such conviction that you could help me.
Mhm, mhm.
And, so I let you help me and I let you help me move me for help myself, right? Because you're not doing the work for me. You're assisting me in leading me, guiding me, helping me do the work for myself. And then through that process allowed me to decide like, okay, like we're going to move far, far beyond what we're doing now. We're going to change a lot and we're going to become accountable, consistent, and what's the right word?
I'm gonna say courageous.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. So,
Mhm.
in doing this work, not only did outer life change and somebody could look at the moment and be like, oh, she's doing this thing at Lincoln Center, oh, she's doing this thing at Pacific Opera Project, oh, these things just happened for her. No, there was a lot of work that came before, a lot of outer work, instrument, and a lot of inner work.
Mhm. And so the interesting thing that I want you guys to notice as you're listening to Annie is she used the word decide and she used the word change. She had to decide to change. The commitment to change comes first. And then the time, the resources, the energy, the that then shows up. And I think a lot of singers get into frustrating moments and they play the victim. They feel like the victim instead of, well, they play the victim and they get into that space where they're in starving artist mindset. They don't have enough time. They don't have enough energy. They don't have enough money. If I had $1 for everyone who told me that the reason they're not successful in their career is because they don't have money, I would be a very rich woman right now. And the truth of the matter is that if you have a dream on your heart, if you have a talent and a goal and something that you are working towards that matters more than anything else to you, I don't care if you have $1 million in the bank or if you have $0 in the bank. What I care about is, are you sick and tired of being in that negative feedback loop of feeling bad about yourself because you're not doing what you were put on this planet to do? And are you ready to do something about it? And if that's the case, right, the decision to change comes first. And then finding the time, finding the financial resources, finding the whatever it may be, then that shows up. Because without that initial decision to change coming first, nothing will ever happen. And I say this with nothing but love for you guys who are struggling in that place. because you get you get to decide what you want in your life. You don't have to settle. And so what Annie's talking about, I really want you to even like go back and watch this video again and listen to what she said, which is she made a decision even before we talked. And she knew that if she kept doing what she had been doing, she would continue to keep getting the same results. And so at that point, right? Because without that commitment to change, I couldn't help her anyway. Well, no, but no, nobody, whatever was a coach or a program or whatever it would be, right? And so what we do, guys, in the moment is we tend to shrink, we tend to contract, and we tend to react to all of our external circumstances, and we put blame on these other things. That, oh, I don't have enough money. That's the reason that I'm not on Broadway yet. Oh, I don't know. Like, what were some of your old limiting beliefs, Annie, as to why you weren't where you wanted to be?
That's a great question. Let me think for a moment.
So while she's I can share with you a lot of the ones that I've heard, right? Oh, the industry is corrupt. That's, and it's an old boys club. Everybody knows each other. I don't have the network. That's why I'm not where I want to be. Okay, but news for you. Nobody knew who Annie was 2 months ago. Nobody. She goes in and she shows up and she makes an impact in those auditions and she gets cast and she gets hired and she wins the competition. Okay. Again, just a limiting belief that it's just a network. I don't have the network, right? Or this is another one. I'm not I don't look a certain way. Like I'm not pretty enough or interesting enough or whatever enough, right? And so the more that these beliefs start to sabotage you, the more we play the victim, right? The less commitment we have and the harder it is for us to decide to change, because all these things would have you believe that even if you did make that decision, did make that investment of time or energy or money, that it wouldn't matter if you still have that belief that, well, I'm still not going to make it anyway, right? So this idea that, like, you guys keep your sights on what you really want. And if what you really want is to use your talents and make a gift as a performer, if you're out there and you're struggling, you're releasing records that nobody's listening to, or you're going to auditions and you're not getting in the callbacks, or, there's so many ways that this manifests. There are singers who call me and get on my phone and all they say, they just want to be the world's next superstar, and they don't want to change anything about themselves or the way they're doing things to have it. They just want me to give them like some magic connection, some magic pill, and change their stars for them. And you heard what Annie said. It's about showing up and shifting the internal and the external to be able to create the perfect storm, the perfect set of circumstances, so that when the opportunities do arise, you nail them and you deliver when it counts, right? So there's another group of singers who come on my call who know that they are the bottleneck. They know that there's some missing piece, that there's something that they just don't know or they just haven't embodied that is standing in their way of being able to move from where they are to where they want to go. Those people I can work with because they understand that the power is within them to decide to change. And so that I really want to hit that point. Like, you guys, I'm going to hit it and hit it and hit it, because what she said is evidence, right? Yes, she came in and she committed to change. She committed to investing in herself and the future that she wanted by getting the help she needed to get there. She knew she didn't have the answers. She didn't know what she didn't know. And she knew that she needed guidance, because it's all very well and good to say, I was in my head. I wasn't able to tap into myself. Like, all of you guys, you tend to know what the big issues are intellectually, but not have the context for what to do that really changes it, that really moves the needle. And so, Annie, I want to throw it back to you.
Yeah.
And I'm, at this point now, what would you say have been your biggest distinctions, your biggest learnings, the things that have made the biggest difference for you since doing this work?
Well, A lot of what I was basing what I thought on was based on the things that had happened. So, okay, I didn't make it on Broadway. That was my big goal. It didn't happen. So I guess I'm not good enough.
Mhm,
Right? Deciding that, the external world has said no. So that's my truth.
mhm.
And I also thought, that I'm just supposed to be brilliant on my own. I thought like if it's not all if I can't just figure it out by myself, then there's something wrong.
Uh-huh.
so so deciding that just because, I haven't gotten what I wanted yet doesn't mean that, I'm a failure
Right.
or that there is not some amazing, wonderful, unique path that is absolutely meant for me and no one else.
Yes.
I decided to stop in being so invested in the external world and start listening to my own voice again.
Mm. And let me ask you, when you started doing that, what effect did it have on your technique and on your sound?
Well, I mean, wow. I mean, wow. Wow. It had a lot of wow when you stop listening to all the "you're not good enough" and, like, "you have to work really hard" and, like, "you have to be so impressive to everyone and yourself," and when you let that go, you get so much more for so much less effort.
Ah, yes. And so, with that distinction, that idea of not listening to those voices, reframing those voices, letting go of the pressure and all of that stuff, you know, for for some of you, you might be able to do that on your own. But as Annie said, it's very hard to be an island in this journey. And from the perspective of number one, of you don't know what you don't know, but number two, oftentimes when it comes to these internal things that are stopping us from being able to connect with the most efficient technique, from being able to connect with our artistry and our audience, when it comes to those internal blocks and patterns, oftentimes we are just too close to our own stuff to see it. And it can be very hard to shift these things on your own. And so, if you are somebody who's listening to this today and you're really relating to Annie, and you have had a similar experience to how she was feeling, and you would like some help to be able to bust through these blocks and create a new foundation and a new reality, so that, like Annie, you get to step into a completely new reality for your career, your talent, your inner world, your outer world, then I invite you to book a call with me. It's the same kind of call that Annie started with, which is like 45-minute, hour or so conversation where we get really clear on what's not working in your singing, in your career. We get really clear on what are the gaps between where you are and where you want to go. And we get more clear on what are the consequences to staying where you are. What are the consequences to the life that you want? To maybe your family, maybe your health. There's all these things, guys, that when you start getting clarity, you start to realize how this is not just about your singing. Like, yes, it's about your singing, but no, it's not. It's about what it does to a person to know that you have a gift, a reason you are put on this planet, and to not be living it. That was where Annie was. And, can you speak to that emotional turmoil that it created for you, Annie?
Oh,
Before.
it was an incredibly painful place to be.
Mhm.
And I remember our first call, and I think I used like a whole roll of tissues because you're talking about this stuff and talking about the person that you want to be when you feel so far away from that and so unempowered from that person. It really sucks.
It's does. It does. But also, so many of you guys are just in denial and you're numbing, you're sugarcoating, and you're not present to how this is really affecting you and the gifts of being on the other side of it. So one of the reasons I'm so grateful to Annie and to some of the others who we've had on some of these success stories, is because I want you to know that Annie is just like you, that you exactly where she was. There is nothing. I mean, Annie is an extraordinary person. She's so wonderful, but she's no different than you. You know, the only difference between her and you is that she made a decision to change and to put her time, her money, her energy behind the future that she wants to create and get the help that she needed to get there. And so, if you'd like to have a conversation with me and find out if this work is right for you too, then I'm going to invite you to book a call. I'm going to put the link right here on the screen. And it'll also be, if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to click it right on the screen after. And in Facebook, it'll be below on the chat. And this is where it all started for Annie. And this is where it can start for you too. And, if it's a fit for us to work together, I'll show you what that looks like. And if it's not, that's okay too. I'm still going to promise you, you will have so much more clarity around what the big issues are and what you can do to fix them than you did before that hour. So I like to say this is the most important hour you will spend on your singing, not actually singing, because it will show you the doorway to something different. And I want you to know that if you have been in traditional training for a long time and you're feeling like Annie and you're not seeing the results of that and you're feeling beat down and you have issues that have never resolved, maybe tension, strain, whatever it may be, right? This is the work. This is it, guys. Like, this is the work that the conservatories don't do. This is the work that traditional private training doesn't do. And I want you guys to know that there is another way. And it doesn't take long. I mean, Annie, this was like a year ago, maybe
Something like that.
That you did the intensive program. So you guys don't hesitate and don't be shy. Go ahead and book a call so we can figure out what's going on. See what needs to be done to fix it. See if we're a fit to work together so that you get to be my next amazing testimonial, just like Annie. And I get to come on here and celebrate your big successes, your debuts, your records that are getting awesome plays, just like I get to celebrate Annie. So Annie, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you for everything.
You are so very welcome. And you guys go check out, if you live in Los Angeles, check out Annie during the run of Into the Woods this summer at Pacific Opera. And if you happen to be in Lincoln Center next weekend, go cheer her on. And go book a call so that we can help you too in the same way that we've helped Annie. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Take care. Bye. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you want to subscribe, click the link right over there that says subscribe. And if you want to book a breakthrough session with me, which you absolutely should do, then click the link right over here that says book a call to schedule an appointment to speak with us. I'll see you on the next episode.